Hey friends, Peggy Hall back with you from thehealthyamerican.org. From time to time, I like to bring on Colin Plume. He's the CEO of Noble Gold Investments. He's been with me a long time, providing value, not only as a sponsor, but also helping us figure out what is going on with precious metals. I'm not an expert in precious metals, but Colin is. He literally wrote the book about silver. And I want to talk about silver because I think gold grabs all the headlines. So, Colin, welcome back. And
Thank you.
what is it we need to know about silver? What the heck is
Yeah.
going on?
Well, I think what we need to know is that it's a metal to watch. It's something that if you've never owned it or it hasn't been on your radar, you should put it on your radar. And I think it's getting more and more difficult to figure out what to invest into today. People are concerned about the stock market being at a tipping point potentially, and they're concerned about the volatility. And so, how do you navigate that? How do you find a return in something? What are you going to do that's going to help you make that 10, 11, 12% that you really kind of need? Unfortunately, that's where the world is today with the amount of dollars that they're printing, the amount of debt we're in. Those are the numbers you got to hit. 20, 30 years ago, if you were making 7, 8%, you'd be okay. But I think you got to make a higher return now, unfortunately, because of what we put ourselves into. So I think silver, the key things to realize with silver is there's a 148 million ounce shortage per year in terms of what industry needs on the day to day. And the industries to think about are solar panels are almost 11% of the usage. Data centers, that's a big usage point, and those are growing leaps and bounds. I think it's one of the strongest areas for jobs. Actually, is there's a lot of jobs surrounding data centers. Um, in terms of military, drones, different military applications. And so I think I mentioned on our show last year, the US government bought over $400 million in silver, and they bought $100 million of gold for different industries, but one of them being defense. Last month, Russia and Saudi Arabia both did their first massive purchase of just silver in over 100 years. And people are like, well, of course they bought silver before. Actually, they haven't bought silver in this way. They actually bought the physical silver and some ETFs because they wanted to buy it as more an investment than what they've been doing in the past, which is just they just have mines of silver and been using it. Now they added silver as a part of their investment portfolio, similar to what central banks have done with gold for a long time, especially in the last 4 years. So they've made it a strategic asset for Russia and Saudi Arabia. So I think that's pretty telling that they've kind of seen that, yeah, we can have silver here, we can use it in industry, and obviously we need it, but we should also make it a part of our portfolio. So I think the portfolio idea with central banks buying silver is a new shift. And then there's a lot of talk about how portfolios should be set up today. Those are the things that I think that are happening that people should be aware of.
Well, I caught a headline that said silver is smashing records. We hear about gold is just going through the roof.
Right.
But that's so interesting. I know you did mention that part about the data centers, but we're hearing more and more about that. Of course, they're cropping up everywhere.
Right.
And so, what does that mean for people that are interested in investing? They're maybe brand new. They might have some money in the stock market. Maybe they've got a 401k from their employer, or maybe they just are interested in diversifying. And if you're hearing that these big countries are adding this to their portfolios, what does it mean for people like you and me?
Yeah, I mean, I think what it is it's a lot of things are going back to basics. I think that we sometimes get caught up in a fad or a trend like AI, for instance. There was a report that came out from Morgan Stanley that said that 90% of the AI investment over the last 3 or 4 years has produced zero return. Um, so I think that's pretty fascinating because as a person that I think I have a good understanding of like business, I always like when someone's like, "Oh, this AI can do this." I always say, "Well, okay, so tell me how it can do that." And a lot of times when you ask like if you ask like five more questions, a lot of these AI startups sort of fall apart. That either they can't actually do it or it's not that helpful. It's not doesn't really and if it's not that helpful, then how much money does it cost to get to that point, right? And so uh, to find out that there's such a huge amount invested in AI that's wasted, and then it's sort of like you're just buying what a lot of people are buying into is companies or ideas that are not going to come to fruition. And I think it's so hard to have enough money to invest that if you get into something that goes to zero, it can really throw your trajectory of retirement into a tailspin. And that's the thing you really got to be careful of. And we've seen it before. I mean, in 2001, early 2000s, 99, the stock, the tech boom,
Right.
that first boom of things happening, and a lot of companies went out of business. And if you look at the Magnificent Seven big stocks, I mean, it's so much interplay between Google and Nvidia and all these companies just investing with each other in these AI applications, and not all of them work. There's a funny one that I saw a story about Burger King started to use AI in their drive-throughs, and the AI would just get totally confused. Like it, like I think a kid was paying a prank, and it was like, I want 18,000 cups of water, and the AI it couldn't handle that. And it seems simple that it should know that that's an unrealistic and it's not happening, but they actually ended up just pulling it. They went back to people. Uh,
Yay.
yeah, yeah, they went back to people, but you would think that's a pretty simple application for this kind of sophisticated technology, and it couldn't handle it. So there's a lot of this. I think in the next year or two, we're going to find that there was just, probably billions, if not trillions of dollars wasted. So yeah, so like if you're invested in one of these companies and they're pushing this idea and they're raising money, it can look good, right? But then if all these applications really don't fulfill or fix a problem, you're going to get caught in that turnaround and that pullback. And so I think it's silver being a thing that is actually necessary, and the uses are not going anywhere. I mean, that's the cool thing about it is that it's still at $53, $52. It's still so affordable that we don't even recycle it that much, which is not great. I'm not saying we shouldn't recycle. What I'm saying is that it's not like gold where it's like every ounce or every particle they try to recycle, right? Because it's $4,200. Silver is still so affordable that a lot of it doesn't get recycled, which means they have to continue to mine more. They have to continue to find more. And so I think because of all of those uses and sort of what I talk about, and I do get into that in my book, Silver's a New Oil, that I don't think it's going to replace oil. What I'm saying is that it is mirroring a lot of those uses. Using these data centers does take some usage away from other areas that we would use oil, and that's what I talk about in my book. There's a lot of these little examples that add up to something pretty enormous. So yeah, so silver broke its all-time high of silver was $50, which it broke about 2 weeks ago,
Wow.
and that was like definitely a psychological number, Peggy, for investors. They saw that and it was like, okay, silver's ready to go, and to get you an idea, I mean, silver when the book came out in December was at $29 spot price, and now we're
Oh
at
my gosh. You were
50.
you were ahead of the curve there, Colin. You told
Yeah,
everybody. Now, is
yeah, it
it
was
too late though? Like, what about somebody listening to this who's like,
great.
oh, forget it. If
Yeah,
it's that, I should have gotten it when it was $20.
yeah. I mean, I think that there's a lot of that idea. And listen, do I think silver could have some volatility? Of course, like it can definitely have some volatility. The thing you have to think about is with gold and silver right now is like if you think our economy is going to continue to be where it is, and there's no indications that the economy is going to get substantially better, then you do want to have some safe haven investments like gold and silver. You do want to have some of these in your portfolio because if AI collapses and real estate, we had a lot of optimism, but they're talking about lowering rates, but it might not be enough. So there's a lot of turmoil there. It's like, where's this big money? Where are they putting their tranches of money? Like, where are they going to invest for that safe return? And that's why, Morgan Stanley just came out 2 weeks ago. The CIO of Morgan Stanley has said the new portfolio today is 60-20-20, and it's 60% equities, 20% fixed income, and 20% gold. And he talked about silver a little bit being a smaller percentage, but I'm a big believer in silver. But basically, the new portfolio that they're recommending has precious metals. It doesn't have. They're not talking about putting all your money in bonds or having a good percentage in bonds. They're really saying it's important to have gold and silver, and that's at today's price. That's not at the price a year ago. So I do think there's more room, but listen, there is risk. Everybody has to acknowledge that any investment, there could be risk associated with the price. But I think that the demand for silver is really being pushed by these countries. The ETF demand is skyrocketing, and then I just think as long as this industrial demand continues, then could silver hit 100 or 150 or 200? Absolutely, those numbers are completely feasible in terms of where the price of silver could go.
Well, we've got gold predicted it could be $5,000 within the next year and then $10,000 by 2030. I mean,
Correct.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, silver could be uh, rising as well as we're looking at
Yeah.
that.
And I would say I'll leave you with this big idea with gold. The big idea with gold is yes, gold will continue to be bought. There'll be central banks buying it. There's funds buying gold. It's becoming a staple. The big idea with gold is if the government, which a lot of people believe, if the government does a revaluation of gold. So the gold we have has never been revalued since 1973. So the gold on our books is valued at $42.22. And obviously, based on what we believe, we have the most gold in the world. And if they revalued it to today's price, so let's say $4,300, it would send absolute shockwaves through the precious metals industry because and it makes sense for us to do, we as a government would put $1 trillion of value because it basically ends up being about $1 trillion uptick from where it's currently being valued. We could put $1 million on our books without actually selling gold because we could actually have it in our vaults, revalue it with the Fed, and then Fed would show $1 trillion of value. That would be unbelievable. Now, in the short term, probably not great for the dollar, but in the long term, the thing that it would do, and this is the thing that's never happened, is that gold has never gone below its revaluation price.
Hmm.
So when it hit $42.22, it actually skyrocketed up for the next 7 years, all the way up to $300. It's never gone below 42.22. So my hypothesis, and this is the thing that a lot of gold people believe, if they come back and they go, we're going to take today's spot price, $4,300, whatever it is, 42.50, that's the price. The benefit to you as a gold holder is now we've set the floor price. That would be the exciting thing. And I think there's a lot of movement there that this could potentially happen. I believe that we will revalue our gold at some point in the next 12 months, which will be an unbelievable coup for people that are in gold because you're basically saying like we've shut the door below 4,300. Now we're off to the races to 5,000 or 10 or 11,000, whatever it goes to. So I can't predict it. I don't know if it's going to happen, but it's never gone below the revaluation price. So that's a pretty exciting potential development for the gold price.
Wow. Well, this is your business, Colin. You're in precious metals, and I've been letting my audience know about Noble Gold Investments. And if you could just spend a few minutes and let everybody know, because they're asking questions like, what exactly should I do? How do I get started? And I do want to share the website because there's a phone number there. You've got educational materials, but let's say that somebody calls, and then what happens next?
Well, first, I'd like to say, Peggy, that we deal with a lot of first-time investors. We help them, whether you've been buying gold for a long time or it's your first time. We're a great place to start. And then the reason that I built Noble Gold a lot of times is for first-time investors because it's we will spend the time to educate you on products. We'll educate you on the process. We'll educate you on storage at home or storage in a depository and how our storage. We will do all those things. Also, after you buy gold from us, we're not like a pawn shop or one of these places that you'll never hear from us again. We will send you emails twice a week, updates. We give you constant updates. So those come out twice a week forever. Videos. I have my own YouTube channel. We send you marketing materials. So even after, and I think that's where a lot of companies drop the ball is they don't want to talk to you after. So you're going to get a representative at Noble Gold when you call in. You're going to ask a million questions. You're going to get to know them. All of them own gold and silver and platinum and palladium. They're all going to spend a lot of time with you. They're all going to get to know you. And you're just going to build a relationship. It's like how business used to be that it wasn't rushed, right? Like get to know somebody first, spend some time with them. That's what we focus on. And when we meet with our team, we give them new information weekly of what's happening in the markets, and we disseminate that to you through them and emails. So we're up to date. This information that you're getting from us is going to be what's happening in the moment. We have a full writing team that gives you a lot of information. So I think what I tell people is get to know us, get to know the people, see if you like that. If you like that, then we can decide. Don't worry about how much you're going to invest or what you're going to do or if it's an IRA. You can do all that stuff and you're going to make all that decision whenever you're ready. We want to give you information. We want to build a relationship. And then that's the first step in the process. And that's what we focus on.
I love that, Colin. And what I think really sets you apart, this is a family owned business.
Yes.
You've got your employees here in the United States. You're speaking to
Yes.
someone on the phone. And that is huge, especially when you're talking about investing and your money and
Right.
learning about this.
Yeah.
So that is really thrilling. I want everybody to also check out Silver is the New Oil. We did talk about it in our last interview, and I really was struck by a lot of your own personal story and your encouragement for people to just diversify their investments. So, friends,
Right.
I personally am not giving you any investment advice. What you want to do is go to the experts. And I do want to show also, you've got this really exciting bonus for people in the month of October who have opened up qualified accounts. Wanted to make sure to mention this, and you get a 110-ounce silver American flag bar. I have one. I think it's the coolest thing.
Yeah.
And a one silver American Eagle proof coin. So I think these are great because you've got the silver in your hands. And whether or not I'm going to use that if the market crashes, I think I'm hanging on to it because I think it's a really cool thing to have.
Yeah. And the cool thing about that promotion, just thinking it through, we did a similar promotion of that in December of last year. That same to the bar and the coin, that thing we were giving away was worth $350. Now that same thing that we're giving away is worth almost
Oh
$700.
my gosh. Well, that is evidence of the value increasing. I think it's really exciting. And as you say, there are so many applications for silver. We're seeing countries like Saudi Arabia and the Soviet Union adding that to their portfolio. We're seeing some deficits in the availability of silver. So that all helps to drive that price high. Well, Colin, what else would you like to share with us as we're
No, I think it's great. I think we did it all today. Always nice to see you and be on your show. And I always love your background. It's just it warms me up. It feels great. I feel
Oh,
like it's like I could sit on that pink
there
couch
you go.
pillow and read a book.
That's the idea. And that's really great. So I really appreciate you being a sponsor, Colin. I love these
Absolutely.
get-togethers because you can educate people on what's going on. My healthy Americans are so interested in living fully and freely and making wise decisions with their investments. So I'm going to direct them over to you, friends. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. I'll have a link for you in the description box. Check out my other interviews with Colin if you're interested. Check out the book. It's really a nice read. My husband read it. I read it. It helped us learn more about diversifying investments. And then we'll look forward to our next get together, Colin.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Peggy. Talk to you soon.
Thanks again. Take care.